Welcome to the WriterFest podcast, where we celebrate writers, those magical, mysterious minds who pen the books we read, the songs we sing, and the shows and films we binge. I'm your host, Ami McConnell, publishing veteran, book doctor, and author. And there's nothing I love more than connecting writers with the people who make great art happen.
Hi, Amy. Welcome to the WriterFest podcast. I am so excited to have you here today.
It's fun to be here with you.
Yeah,
I loved
how
it.
does it feel being in the hot seat this time?
Feels good. I like it. I like it a lot.
Yay, wonderful. So everyone, welcome back to the WriterFest podcast. My name is Vivian Shea. I am an aspiring author and fellow writing enthusiast. And today I have the pleasure of sitting down with Ami McConnell. Amy is a literary agent, author, and editor with more than 20 years of experience at major publishing houses. She previously served as editor-in-chief and vice president of Howard Books at Simon & Schuster and as an editor at HarperCollins. She has edited numerous New York Times and US Today bestselling books, and she is also the founder and director of WriterFest Nashville. So I'll start with the question that kind of everyone would want to know, just with a literary zoning into the literary agent story. Just like, what is your story? How did you get into this? Tell everyone who might not know.
Sure. Well, I certainly had no aspirations to be a literary agent. That was never on my radar. In fact, I wanted to be an editor. That's my heartbeat. I actually got to start being an editor right out of college. I taught for 1 year, and then I went straight into book publishing, trade book publishing, and you said 20 years. It's a little more than that. Not that you got your facts wrong, but we're not going to do the math because it's been a long time, and I'm working hard to look young. So I got into trade book publishing, and I loved it. I loved being able to serve authors, and I learned so much. I mean, gosh, every day was a fresh. My curiosity was given free reign. I loved advocating for authors all of those years. Okay. I started in '94, so we're here, and it's been a minute. And I was able to do a lot of fun jobs. I started got to launch a fiction division at HarperCollins now that's still there, and we were doing no books at all, no fiction books at all when I started. And by the time I left, we were doing about 50 books a year, and I was stewarding a lot of authors, not just their singular books, but also their brand. And I loved that. But I was itching to do nonfiction, and I was only doing fiction in Harper. So I left to go to Simon & Schuster, where I was the editor-in-chief and vice president of Howard Books, which was super fun. Got to oversee a whole line, including nonfiction and fiction. And there, I did something interesting that I also had not foreseen. I got to work with a lot of ghostwriters and celebrities to craft best-selling books, and that really was, I found a little bit of my groove there because I learned how to bring to bear all of my skills as a publisher that I had previously gained, but also storytelling craft. And so I was really more involved then, and I'd been very involved in the making of books before, but I got more involved in maybe the craft side than I expected to. And all that time was working with literary agents. Of course, I loved literary agents. I was one of those few people who thought that they were amazing to work with because it allowed me to keep my relationship with the author sort of pure and creative and just relational, and then we could talk business on the agent side. And I had good relationships with those people too. So all that to say, when I left Simon & Schuster, I had a lot of agent relationships who kept reaching back out to me to say, can you help me with this project? Can you consult on a project, or could you come work with our agency on these projects? Because again, I had the ability to work with ghostwriters. Instead, I kind of went down the ghostwriting path for a while. I collaborated on 16 books, give or take, and that was amazing. But over the course of that time, and I got to do deep dives, which was super fun to work with authors to get the content ready for publication. And I was working with agents as well. Well, over the course of that time, a few of my former authors reached out to me to say they needed representation. They already had representation, but they were moving on from that representation, and they explicitly asked me, could I represent them? And I was like, well, I haven't been in a literary agent so far, but I love you and I love
Yeah.
advocating for you. So let me step in here. So jumped in with both feet with the help of my husband, who is a CFO. So he was able to help me with a lot of those aspects.
Mm.
Fleet, you've met him,
Yeah.
and this history. I mean, that was honestly that was like at the end of 23. So we're still pretty new at it, but we're
Wow.
rolling and go.
Wow. I just love like you talking about just like the relationships that you get to build in this industry. I think it's so beautiful. Just what you're saying with agents, with authors, that's so collaborative. And I think that's awesome.
It's my favorite part. I mean, I had a boss, Joey Paul, rest in peace, who I remember one time I said, "Is there if there's any advice you can give me, because I want to be in this business for life, and what's the best advice you can give me?" And I really thought I anticipated he was going to talk about books, but he was like, "No,
Mm.
it's about relationships, Amy. It's really about like making sure that people feel they can trust you and that they actually can trust you
Yeah.
and that you're bringing along relationships that you want to be in, not just relationships for the end product, but because you enjoy the work and you enjoy the relationship." And
Yeah.
that really has stuck with me over the years.
Wow. No, I love that so much. And now you're saying that this kind of world of being an agent is sort of new and obviously separating from the traditional publishing to, or not traditional publishing, traditional publishers and sort of having your own literary agency. How is that different? I'm sure it is in so many
Yeah,
ways, but
no, that's a great question. That's a great question. And I'm grateful. Remember, I talked about how I've written those books in the interim, and that really, I've had 10 years on my own. When I started Amy McConnell
Mhm.
10 years ago,
Mhm.
I just was, that's just me over here, doing consulting work. And I figured I would go back in house. I felt like I was a corporate girl. I had
Mhm.
grown up in that system, and I thought I would go back to it. And in fact, I did start negotiating to go back in house. But by the end of that first year, I was like, I actually love this independence. It was really
Mm.
good to. I've read about it being sort of a little bit like when you leave the orbit, right? Like you're
Mm.
in the orbit of something else and you leave the orbit, and then you have to find kind of your own orbit, right? Or
Yeah,
your own, I don't even know what the metaphor is. Can you hear my dogs?
I can. All good.
Those are my those are my companions, my
Aw.
literary companions, Shelby and Phoenix.
Aw.
Um, what was I saying? Oh, what was it like to leave like
Yeah,
the
just the
corporate
differences.
space?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say, well, in that 10-year span, when I was working with publishers and working with agents and authors to come up with a saleable product that would do well in the marketplace, I got to exercise my new point of view, right? Because I had always been inside thinking about like, how can we make this book a success? What are the components of making this successful for us as the
Yeah.
company? And then being on the other side of the desk, if you will, as the author and representing the author with the agent, it was not an adversarial perspective at all. It was like, how can we work together to
Mm.
achieve these goals while staying my responsibility. Now, I would always say this is my responsibility is to you, author, to do the things that you want to do, because I'm collaborating with you, not collaborating with the publisher. So I'm working with the publishing house to make this happen. And that POV shift
Mhm.
was it took a while. Honestly, it took a while. Sometimes I would find myself saying, "Well, here's what the publisher is really getting at here when they say this
Mm.
thing," or "Here's what the publisher thinks about that." And it took me a while to kind of realize like empathy is helpful, but only to a certain extent. My allegiance is with the author, and with 10 years of experience of that, of uncoupling from the publishing house, I think I've successfully reached a point where I can, most of the time, have a very clear head about that. And it's essential because if you think about it in terms of advocacy, you have to know where you stand on those
Right.
in those places. But I have the very unique vantage point of having been on the other side of the desk. So I
Mhm.
usually can understand more than the average agent could, perhaps.
Right. Wait, that's awesome. I love that. I love that because it really is takes two different kind of brains to be on both sides. But then when you have both experiences, you're able to kind of turn that part of the brain on and be like, okay, like I know what they're thinking. I
Mm-hmm.
understand their mindset. And so I think that's
Mm-hmm.
really
I
awesome.
mean, it takes a little bit of, I know anytime you try to put yourself in someone else's shoes, it takes a little bit of time to kind of get traction and go, oh, this is where they're coming from. My oh happens a lot faster than most people's because I
Yeah.
was over. But at the same time, it remains my conviction that my advocacy is for the author at all times. So,
Wow.
yeah.
I love that. And I guess from I'm wondering now, like, yes, it's different in terms of like how it's different, but what is your does your lifestyle feel very different with being a literary agent? Like sort of having your own company, like what does a day look like for you? Like a typical like
Ooh, yeah.
what are you doing to help champion authors?
Oh, it's a great question. Yes, I think I remember being in house and thinking, I never know what day it is. When I was in house, I never would know what day it was. I would go to back in the day when you would write checks. I would go to write a check and I'd be like, I don't know what day it is because when you're in house, there are so many calendars. You're
Mm,
always working on the next sales cycle, and you're working on the next your production sheet, and you're working with this author on their specific timeline. And I remember being like, I have so many calendars in my head. And that is because there are such long timelines for editors and many within that. That said, you're really only thinking about the 18-month cycle as an
mm,
editor. You're thinking about what's coming in so that I need to read it and put it into the queue for the next sales cycle, etc. I mean, I hope that's not being I hope that's being generous, but that was for the way my brain worked. It was really about an 18 months cycle
yeah.
typically back there.
Okay.
Over here, it's a lot longer. On the agent side, it's a lot longer cycle because I may read something and love it, but it might take a long time to edit it and get it into the publication cycle and stuff. So, for instance, remember I said we really started this agency at the start of 24, essentially.
Okay.
I just had my first couple of books published in that I sold that year.
Wow.
So it took a while for those to, so if you see
Yeah.
that takes a while for things to happen.
Yeah.
But I'm also thinking about those authors in 5 years. Like what book are they writing right now that's going to be pitched and et cetera. So longer cycle in that way, but also there's a lot of immediacy, right? Because if I just sent out a manuscript to a few select editors last week, I might have a ton of offers happening this week, and we have to nail it all down in the next 2 or 4 weeks. So
Yeah.
I'm making up numbers right now, but it is both a longer haul and also a lot of shorter things in between. So, um, is that helpful at all? Does that
Yeah.
give you a little space?
I
It's
think
never the same day twice. I'll tell you that. Like in house, I would go into the office. It was a 9 to 5 job, and then I would read at night, and I would read on the weekend. But it was a very clear. Like my day would be spent in meetings and spent doing correspondence, comms, etc. And today, never the same day twice. I have a very varied calendar.
which I feel like is awesome. I feel like I'm sure people like both worlds, but I think that's cool that you've been able to explore both and just sort of um yeah, be able to make that transition into a different
Well,
kind of
I talk about I love. Do you, Vivian? We've never really talked about this, but I love like personality types and horoscopes
Oh yes. Oh yes.
and Myers Briggs and all those things. But my personality type is one of the things is I'm an extrovert, and so it really suits me to be in a business where I interact with books, which is I love, but I
Mhm.
also get to interact with people a ton. But I'm also a type 7 on the Enneagram, which means I'm always anticipating and I'm looking forward to fun
Mhm.
things. And as an agent, that's really fun. When I was in house, a lot of times people were like, how are you such an extrovert and how are you always on the go? Like, you're a book person. You should have your nose in a book all the time.
Right.
Um, this really suits me well.
That's funny because I'm INFJ, so that's funny that like I feel like I'm the person who's like I want to read, but I love that you're able to do both. I think that's what makes people trust you. It's like you want to have that relationship with me, but you also love to read and love to, to edit.
But I almost love to read. Not almost, I do. I love to read by myself, but when I'm done reading, all I can think about is who do I talk about with.
Mm,
Like I read to connect with the author, but then I want to connect with other people about what I've read, which I think a lot. Like my husband loves to read a book and like just escape into it and just be
yeah.
gone for days with it.
Yeah.
I'm like, I've just read 40 pages. Let me talk to you about it. I want to talk about this book.
Yeah. Oh, that's perfect because that's kind of what you do as an agent for authors. You get to help be the person to tell it to others in your own way.
Mhm.
So I think that's
Mm-hmm.
really awesome.
Yes. Yeah. People will say, I don't know how to talk about my book. It's, it's 300 pages long. And I know how to talk about your book.
Bring it to me.
I
I'll
don't.
let the kids. Oh yeah, I love that. I guess going talking about authors, what do you think authors when starting the process of querying their book, like what do you think they misunderstand about literary agents and sort of when starting that process of publishing their book, like what do you think is the most common, like, oh, I didn't realize this would take this long, or I didn't realize this is the way that we do things, if that makes sense.
That was a great question, Vivian. I think probably the most common misconception that I hear or that I identify is that people think that you get discovered by an agent,
Mm,
similarly to like back in the day when people would say, "You have a beautiful face. I'm going to put you in pictures,"
right.
and that's. I mean, I love that idea. It sounds very, very godmothery. But the fact is, a literary agent really exists as to be sort of the manager
Mm,
of an author's career. So I always think of the author as being like the CFO of his or her career, like the CEO, like they're the boss of their career. And you need a literary agent to help you navigate those things for sure. Have I discovered like published people's first book? Absolutely, I have. But it doesn't happen just because I am like, reading all day long all kinds of random things that get sent to me. It's a very relational business, first of all, and I think the best way to get your book discovered or to be to find the right connections to publish your book is to be a good literary citizen, meaning to interact with other people who are in the arts, specifically books, if at all possible. So and if you're a nonfiction writer, to be a good literary citizen in your space, whatever that space is. So I think you need to get in there and participate in the world that you're interested in. So if that is novel writing, get involved in make sure to be in your local bookstores and your local libraries a lot. Support local authors and local writing group gatherings, maybe even offer to read people's or interact with people on their writing. I love to go to open mic nights. That's one of
mm,
my favorite. Participate in literary community. I mean, I participate in literary community as much as possible because it's my favorite way to socialize.
yeah.
But I like to go to things like freehand open mic night or participate in the porch. I love to teach or go to a porch class as often as I can. Porch is one of our amazing resources in Nashville. That's a literary community. I go to as many author signings as I can or readings. And I'm saying I do these things because I think when I'm in those places, I see, oh, these people are also engaged. What are they engaged in and how? And I've met some of the most amazing authors that way.
Wow, I love that. It really is goes back to the connections of like you want to help. Everyone wants to help people more than you think, and just be in that community. I think, like you said earlier, of I think there's this stereotype that people who read and write just want to stay to themselves and stay in their cooped up and but like at the end of the day, I think we all really want community, and books bring people together in so many ways,
Yeah.
and no matter what
And
facet.
there have been studies, you know this, I'm sure, Vivian, but there have been so many studies that indicate that people who are readers do have better empathy and do have the ability to interact with others in an not intellectually, emotionally a healthy way,
Yeah,
because they have basically learned how to put themselves in other people's shoes by way of literature.
yeah. No, you're 100% right. You're 100% right. I'm trying to think of questions for kind of the authors out there, just like writers when it comes to literary agents, because I do think the most, as someone who hopes to one day have a debut novel, I think like one of the things people search is just like the query letter, like that is like the biggest thing. And even though you were saying, being a literary agent is very relationship based, but let's just say someone is in a scenario where they haven't fostered those relationships, they have a finished manuscript and they're querying. Are you looking at queries day to day, or is it like sort of what is that process? I just hear that literary agents have
Yeah,
like thousands of queries. Like what does that look like for you?
that's true. We actually have somebody on my, so I am not the only agent on the AMLA team, the Amy
Mm-hmm.
McConnell Literary team. We have other agents. And so when you query through our AMLA website, the amymcconnell.com website, that query will go to a query inbox, and then we parse that out and give it to the appropriate agent who is acquiring in that area. But that said, it's excellent to be able to know Amy specifically edited such and so book, or she acquired such and so book, or she wrote such and so book, and I know she's going to be interested in this. Almost all agents will list on their site what they have been involved in, what they're looking for, and you can learn a lot about an agent that way if you're looking specifically to query me, for instance, or Mary Elizabeth, or Sarah, or Dorina.
Yeah.
So you can get pretty personal, and not pretty personal. You can get somewhat personal and say, this might be a good fit for you. It would be ridiculous for somebody to send me a horror novel. I've never published a horror novel. I mean, it wouldn't be ridiculous, but it would be pretty crazy for me to acquire one just because I don't read in that space, and I've never been involved in that space, and it's not particularly interesting to me. Not to say that it's not a great idea and very saleable and fantastic for other people. It's just not my lane.
Right.
So I would advise know to whom you're pitching as much as you can. And what else? Try to be succinct and try to be also know your area that you're written in. So for instance, if you are writing a query letter about I'm looking right now at I've got a book right next to me about country music. It's about the Grand Ole Opry. It's 100 years of the Grand Ole Opry. Mm-hmm. If you're writing a book about country music, what else has been written in this vein, and how does your book compare, and in what ways, so that you can kind of give me a context for what the book might be. And a query is not actually a manuscript. It's just an ask, like, would this be interesting to you? So don't give it all away, but make it tantalizing.
Yeah, I love that. I feel like great, because I have heard a lot of literary agents be like, you'd be surprised of the amount of times people pitch not my genre to me, even though on my website it says the things that I'm interested in. And so I think that that's an important thing to reiterate, for sure.
Well, and and no shame either. Like, I've been to writer conference where where agents say, don't pitch me horror, and like me, it's okay. Like, people make mistakes. It's just not likely to get picked up. Right. No shame if you miss the mark. Don't chastise yourself. Just know it's not going to be as effective.
Right. Totally makes sense. I guess talking about just like this long journey that you've been from being both in the position of helping authors, being an agent, what have you seen the most change from kind of when you were in the publishing world in general? Like, has there been some, like, especially like the conversation of like AI, just better technology? Is it more people are trying to get book published, like genre changes, like anything that kind of speaks to mind of like throughout your experience, what has been a big change within publishing?
Sure. I would say fashion, first of all.
Okay.
We dress a lot differently. Yeah. I found in one of my boxes the other day, a photo box that had a bunch of Christmas cards from my team over the years.
Okay.
What were we wearing? What was his hair? But that's just really just came off the top of my head because it was a silly thing that happened this weekend. But what has changed the most? I absolutely would say that it is the author's prerogative to publish. When I first started publishing, I remember being like, wow, we get to choose what gets put on bookshelves? Mm-hmm. Aren't we royalty? And I mean, I really took that seriously, of course, but I remember being at pub boards, quite literally, Vivian. This is a fun thing to go on nostalgia trips with you.
I love it.
I remember being at pub board, which was it ed board or pub board? Because for us, it was always ed board first and then pub board. So this was pub board because I remember specifically some of the people who were sitting at that table. And I remember being like, these people make the decisions about what's published and what is ultimately going to be on bookstore shelves. And we took that seriously. I'm not trying to say that we didn't, but and as in-house people, we were the arbiters of what was published. Now that is not the case. Authors have so much prerogative to publish, self-publish or tradition. They can
Right.
choose self-publishing. They can publish traditionally. They can hybrid publish, where they hire the people who can make their book possible. So there that and that is all that can all be traced back to the Amazon Create Space
Mm.
phenomenon, where people could self-publish, and that was I'm I have a friend connected to that space who was involved in the inception of that, and I just think that was a game changer. The number of books published last in 25 was like a million more than the year previous. I should look at my numbers, but it's there's been an explosion the in the number of books published every year. Because of the prerogative of authors to exercise their own will to publish instead of having to go through that long chain. And I think that's amazing. It's not just a judgment call. It is amazing. It is amazing. Sarah, one of my peers, Sarah Weigel at Ami McConnell Literary, encouraged me to read a book called The Untold Story of Books. Highly recommend this book.
Okay.
It's easy to read. It's history, but it's also super fun, easy to read. But it really gave me a perspective, and I've read a lot about publishing, really gave me a perspective on the long history of publishing and how it really originated with authors' prerogative. And they would hire printers to publish their books. And so we're kind of, it's not, the pendulum has swung, I will say, into the authors having a lot more control. And you see traditional publishers these days picking up a lot of self-published books. In fact, one of the big five just started an imprint totally dedicated to picking up self-published authors.
Wow.
And so I know a lot of people sort of bemoan that and feel like, oh, self-publishing. I do not. I feel really excited about that, and I think it's great, not just for. It's great for everyone. I don't love the AI aspect of it. Obviously, that has been that's probably a hard stop, new paragraph topic. But there are a lot of self-published books that are just AI generated, and I feel like the marketplace will figure that out. I'm hopeful about that. In the meantime, I'm just about helping authors find the best solution for them, and that doesn't always mean traditional publishing.
I love that. There's so many avenues people can take now, I think. You're right. Like I feel like there was this like almost like a formula, maybe like correct me if I'm wrong, of like you query like there's just like such like a specific I guess like pathway, and now there's so many different ways you can take, which, is great for authors and anyone in
And
publishing.
especially for creatives.
Yeah.
Like creatives should not be, I mean, you have to have some discipline within your art,
Right.
obviously. But for a creative to go, oh God, the slog of now it's time to do this thing, and now it's time to now creatives can just do for me, my heart is always with the author and the reader. I really want the reader to feel loved and connected with their author. Obviously, they'll probably never meet, but I want the author to have a fantastic experience. And I think if authors can continue to publish with that end reader in mind, the magic happens. It's a beautiful thing.
I love that. I guess I want to close out with one kind of vague question of like, I know you mentioned advice earlier, but just like any advice for both someone who wants to be an author and go any publishing route that they want to go, or someone who, I know a lot of people who actually would love to be literary agents. What do you, like any advice for people who want to do that realm or book realm, writer realm? Any advice that you have just for someone who like maybe just got out of college and wants to kind of explore that, or has done something completely different their whole life and is like, maybe I'll try this, and is just kind of going in? What sort of advice would you have for anyone?
Okay, well, I think this is I'm going where the spirit leads right here. But
Yeah.
one year at WriterFest, we had the amazing Alice Randall speak. This was, I think it was probably 8 years ago, and I got up to introduce her, and I said, Alice Randall is like the poster child for WriterFest. She writes books, she writes songs, she writes films, and everything she writes is amazing. She's so good at all three things. And I said, so I'm feeling a little bit of an imposter syndrome, but welcome with me, Alice Randall, something to that effect. And she got up to the podium and she said, that was really kind introduction, something to this effect. That was kind of you, Amy, but you should never say that again. Never say that you have imposter syndrome.
Mm.
And she said, because you are a writer. Are you not? And I was like, yes, ma'am. Yes,
Yep.
I am. I've written a bunch of books. And she was like, everyone in here is a writer. And we have, for there's some reason, we have this thing in us that just makes us go, sort of, we're sort of a writer. We'd like talk ourselves out of it. Listen, you are a writer and you will do what you put your mind to.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a matter of like you agreeing with yourself. Okay, yes, I can do this thing and I will do this thing. Don't not don't should yourself. Don't like that's not the right word. Don't agree to be in like don't agree to that statement. I'm just an imposter or I have an imposter syndrome. And then secondly, so yes, you're a writer.
Mm-hmm.
You are a writer. Own it. And then secondly, I would say believe people when they tell you you're good. Believe people when they tell you they believe in you. A mistake that some of us make is we go, oh, they're just being nice, or we certainly we want to take any feedback with like open hands and let fall through what does not feel accurate or does not feel like something we're supposed to keep. But when people believe in you and they say you did a good job on something, believe them. I work with so many writers who are like, really? You really like it? Like, I'm like, I do not, this is my job.
Right.
I do not lie. I do not pump people full of hot air.
Yeah.
When people believe in you, take it. And yeah, just continue to do your good work that you're called to do.
I love that. I love that so much. I resonate with that. I think every creative can sort of have that doubt creep in. And I think even hearing it from a literary agent, it's like, I succeed when you succeed, and so why would I kind of voice and tell you these things if I didn't truly believe that?
Right,
so,
right.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. That's great advice. I really resonated with that heavily. Do you want to briefly explain sort of what WriterFest is for anyone who might not know exactly what it is?
Sure.
And
Yeah. Oh my
yeah.
gosh. Yes, for sure. So WriterFest is a 2-day event that happens every November in Nashville, which is the best city in the world to gather in. We're got a conference for writers of book, song, and film. So we feature tracks for songwriters, film writers, and people who write prose, whether that be fiction or nonfiction, children's books, all kinds of books. So it's a pretty unique conference because so many conferences are very niche, and we on purpose welcome writers of all kinds, and then they can learn from each other. There's so much we can learn from each other. And then we invite the best pros in the industry. We have had world-class speakers in this space to talk about the editing, the marketing, the publicity, the managing, the song critique stuff, the producing. It's I learn so much every year. It's just kind of it's a celebration that it's kind of like my Christmas. It's my favorite thing. I love it. So,
Yay.
yeah. And it is this year. It is November 20th and 21st at Belmont University here in Nashville, which is just steps away from Music Row.
Wonderful. Oh, that was a perfect explanation. It got me all excited. I feel like I need to sit down and go write something. We'll look forward to seeing the next episodes when we have more exciting guests and more interviews with you about publishing and writing and all things writing and yay.
Thanks, Vivian.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.